This mini seminar is going to be about photos, primarily about editing photos. But before we get into that, I'm going to cover a little bit about where can we get photos to edit. I'm going to cover three areas for that. First of all, from your camera. Second, from your computer, and third, from the internet. When you take a picture with your camera, you need to get that picture or those pictures out of your camera and into your computer. And to do that, you need a cable to connect your camera to your computer. And you will need to plug that cable into your camera in a connection like this, or this, or this, or this. And when you get it plugged in, like this, and you plug it the other end into a USB port on your computer, you will see that in your Windows File Explorer, you will have a new USB drive. And that USB drive will have folders in it that will include your photos. Lots of photos if you have taken lots of photos. And to identify your photos in File Explorer, you will probably want to change the way that you see those in File Explorer. To do that, you go to the View tab on File Explorer and you click Large Icons, which you see will show you the actual individual photos that you have taken in your camera. Then you can right-click on one of those, or a whole bunch, click Copy, and go to somewhere else in your computer where you want to save them, perhaps in Photos here, and then right-click there and paste. So now you have some photos in your computer, and you may have already had some before you downloaded any of your own. If you go over to File Explorer and click on Pictures under this PC, you may find a folder here that you didn't put there, that came with your computer. If not, the third place that you can always look is the internet. So, how do you go onto the internet and look for particular photos? Well, I do it through Google. You can do a Google search by image, not just by words. Let me show you how. This is how I found this photo and the others I just showed you. I went to a new tab in my browser. My browser is Google Chrome. And when I got to Google search, I clicked Images here. And then when you type something in here and click the search magnifying glass, you will get images of what you typed. Let me give you an example. Let's type in passion flower. It wants to finish that by putting in flower. I will click there, and lo and behold, you get lots of pictures of passion flowers. The passion flower is a very exotic beast, and I happen to have saved one of these in my computer and will be using it later to show you how to operate on photos in your computer. But when you get to whatever you have typed in the Google image search box and you decide you want that photo in your computer, you can right-click on it, and then you can do all sorts of things. You can open that image in a new tab, which is what I did for those camera pictures, or you can save the image as, and when you click that, it will take you to somewhere in your computer. Right now, this one is set to take me to downloads, and I could type here passion flower photo and save it. And then I would have that particular passion flower photo in my computer in my downloads page. Or I could click here on pictures and pick one of the folders in my pictures and put it there. Now we're getting close to talking about what programs can you use to edit photos in your computer. Before we do that, I want to show you how to find out what program right now does my computer use to open photos. To do that, you could do it by going to a photo in your computer, double-clicking it, and see what happens. But there is a more scientific way to do that, and that is to go to Control Panel. When I go to Control Panel, and Control Panel opens, one of my options is Default Programs. And if I click that, and then I click Associate a file type with a program, I will get a window that says what photos open with, Photo Viewer. And this one is opened with photos. But there are lots of different types of photos, and the way to really find out what all your photo types will do is to go down here and choose Default Apps by File Types. If I click on that, a list of all the file types comes up on the left, and I can then scroll down or drag down to those file types that I know are photo file types. One of the most prevalent is JPEGs, JPG or JPEG, and you keep going down until you get to, whoops, back up, here we are, JPE, JPEG, and JPG, and you see that all of those types are opened by this program called Photos. If you go back up, let me come over here, and you'll find the other very large type is bitmap files, BMP, and BMP over here, also opened by this program called Photos. Let me show you where that program is. If I open the Windows 10 menu and go down to MNOP, you will find Photos right there. So now that we know what program your computer uses today to open photos, what programs can you use to edit photos? Well, I'm assuming that you're in Windows 10. If you're in 7 or 8, some of this will still apply to you, but exactly how you get there may be different. In Windows 10, you can use Photos, the program that I've just shown you that my Windows 10 program, my Windows 10 operating system uses to open photos. You can also use Microsoft Office, in Microsoft Office, the program called Microsoft Office Picture Manager. I'll show you that. You can use a program that I found by wandering around through Google asking what programs work really well to edit photos. I found one that is free and very powerful, and it's called Irfan, I-R-F-A-N View. Irfan is the first name of the person that invented this program. I'll show you that. You can use Photoshop, the standard for professional photographers and professional photo editors. It's very expensive. You can also use Photoshop Elements, which is about 1/7 of this price, which I bought 15 years ago, I think, and I'm still using. And I'll show you that. Let's cover each of these in detail. The first one is the one that I've already shown you, called Photos. And I've shown you how to get there. You go to Programs, scroll down to the P's, and click Photos. And then you can open a photo, right? Wrong. At least it does not work that way in my computer. If I open this program right here, well, I'll show you. Here's the program, and there is no way to click anywhere here to open anything. So I'm going to close the program and go to the place where I have a photo that I want to show you in Pictures, right here, Unusual Flower, Unusual Flower 1. If I double click that, then Photos opens, and it opens that particular file, that particular photograph, Unusual Flower 1. Now, how can we operate on that? Well, up here you see Edit and Create. And when you click that, you get a bunch of options as to what you can do with this particular photo. This one is crop, add filters, effects, and more. That is probably the most likely thing you're going to use in Photos to edit a given picture. You click there and it lets you straighten. Let me show you what happens to this picture when I tilt that. If your picture is not straight, you can use that to make it so. You can change the aspect ratio, you can flip it, you can rotate it, all those things. You can also come over here once you have opened this editing link, and you can go to Adjustments, and then you can change the lightness, the color, the clarity, etc. That's pretty powerful. If that's all you have in your computer, use it. I would make one suggestion before we leave this, because I want that suggestion to apply to all the places where we are. You may notice that here I have Unusual Flower up here, Unusual Flower JPG, and Unusual Flower 1 JPG. That's because I decided before I started this to make a copy of Unusual Flower, and I changed the name by adding the numeral 1 after flower and saved it here. And that is the one that I would use to experiment with what you can do with this particular photo. That way, if you make a change and accidentally save it and lose the previous condition of that photo, you can go back to the other one that you copied from and start over. Now, the second program that I'm going to discuss and demonstrate is Microsoft Office Picture Manager, which is in Microsoft Office. I happen to have Microsoft Office 2010 on my computer, and if I go to the Start menu and, oops, I go to the Start menu and come down to the M's, I will find Microsoft Office, and if I click there, one of the programs is Microsoft Office Picture Manager. And if I click there, Microsoft Office Picture Manager will open. I already have it open, so I'm going to come here and show it to you. I'm showing it to you blank, but actually it has already gone through the first process you need to go through, which is to go to File, look at the drop-down menu, and click Add Pictures. No, click Locate Pictures. When you do that, it will ask you, where do you want to locate pictures? And you probably should start at your hard drive, C, probably. And when you click that and tell it to locate pictures in C, it will go through your entire hard drive and find every picture that's in every folder in every different place in your computer. And then it will list them. Like that. Here you can see I have all sorts of pictures in all sorts of folders in all sorts of places in my computer. That's because I've saved everything. I'm a pack rat. I've saved everything I've ever done from one computer to the next to the next. And the one that we're going to operate on to begin with is this one in Pictures, the same one as before, called Unusual Flower 1. And if I double click on that, it will open now in Microsoft Office Picture Manager. And here we are in that program in more slightly compact form. So what can we do with this program to or for this picture? Well, up at the top, it says Edit Pictures. If I click there, I will get a menu of Edit Pictures over here. I can correct pictures automatically. I can edit using the tools for brightness and contrast or color, or I can crop, I can rotate, and I can, if this had a picture of a person, I could do red eye removal with one click. Well, another thing you can do with one click, which I really recommend you try every time you go to one of these programs, is you can auto-correct. Now, I'm going to click that, and you watch this whole picture here and see whether you like it better after I click auto-correct. This is a pretty fine picture to begin with, but 1, 2, 3, click, and I think it gets a bit brighter. I like that. You can undo that by going to Edit and then Undo Autocorrect and watch again there. So I think it's a little duller. So you can autocorrect, or as I said, you can go to various tools to change the brightness. Change it enough, it will disappear. Change it down here and it gets very dark. Get it back to 0, and that's where it was. You can change the contrast, which I don't think makes it better, but you may. And you can do what they call advanced settings. You can spend quite a bit of time experimenting with photographs, and perhaps you would want to start with one that was a lot simpler than this, and you will learn a lot. The next program is Irfan View. As I told you, I found this by a Google search for useful photo editing programs, or something very close to that, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a free download. It's free to keep. And this is what it looks like. You go down to the eyes on your menu, click Irfan View, and there are several things about Irfan View, and details of Irfan View and Irfan View help and what's new and so forth. But the program itself is Irfan View, this particular version. So I start that. I come up with the program and I can open a file. Click Open and go to Pictures, which right now is not set on large icons. So I can come down here and just find the file that I've been demonstrating with. Here it is. And when you click Image, you will get all the things that you can do in Irfan View with that image. And once again, there is an auto adjust colors. Watch carefully over here and see what happens when I click auto adjust colors. I think it gets a little bit better. And here is the undo, and back it goes. It's a very subtle shift, I agree. At any rate, you can increase and decrease color depths. You can convert to grayscale. You can sharpen images. You can do red eye reduction if it were a person. Once again, my suggestion is you import a relatively simple picture and experiment. See what you can do and see what you like. Moving on, we'll talk about Photoshop very briefly. I have not invested $698 in the full-fledged Photoshop because I am not a professional photo editor. I did invest into Photoshop Elements some time ago. Let me show you how you can do that. If you go to Google and search Photoshop Elements, you will find lots of things. Here's Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. Here's Adobe Photoshop Elements 2019 from Amazon for $99. Here's Photoshop Elements 2019 Student and Teacher Edition. You will probably have to have a .edu email address to make that work for $79. But here's one over here. Adobe Photoshop Elements 2019 for $79.99. You might want to invest in that. Seems pretty reasonable to me. So, I already have Photoshop Elements on my computer. I believe the copyright date on it is 2002. That's rather old. Well, so am I, and we get along just fine. So, let me show you my Photoshop Elements. I keep it on my taskbar, and it opens. Takes a bit to load, and there it is. I can open a file, like the one I've been showing you all along, Unusual Flower 1. It gives me a preview of it down here, as Irfan did. Irfan was free. And there is my standard photo. Once again, if I go to the image and look at the drop-down menu, I can see the various things that I can do, like rotate, transform, crop, resize, adjust, which is equalize colors, etc. One of the major things that Photoshop Elements can do, which Photoshop will do, is call up pictures to, or call up layers to adjust your picture. If you want to add something to this picture right here, like a sun, you could call up a layer and in that layer place a sun. Then you can combine this image and that layer and see how they look together. And if you want to work on just the sun, you can call up just that layer and work on that sun in that layer without disturbing the basic layer, which would be this background photo of the passion flower. If you want to learn about layers, Google Photoshop layers and read, or go to YouTube and find a video tutorial about Photoshop layers. Here is a YouTube video tutorial about using layers to combine two images. The video takes a total of about 5 minutes and shows how to combine an image of an eye with a picture using layers. And I'm not going to put you through the entire 5 minutes of this tutorial, but eventually you can see him working on this with two images, two layers, and combining the two of them, and eventually he gets to this right here, which I think is pretty neat. The tutorial address I will put on the other on the Word document so that you can go find it yourself. We'll paste it right here. And that should blow up pretty well so you can copy it and go see it yourself. Photoshop and Photoshop Elements have a very good help system. You can go to a table of contents, but I find it most useful to go to the index, which is alphabetical. And if I were looking for something like photo merge, I'm about to show you all about that, I would come here to the P's and I would come down alphabetically to photo merge command. And I would read through here. But let me just show you what you can do with photo merge. I took a bunch of photos from the front deck of my vacation rental over in Kauai, and I've opened about 4 of these here on the same at the same time. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. You can see that it sort of overlaps. Here's the road, and here's some more of the same road, and here's the next picture with more of the same road around the corner, and here's the last one with more of the same road around the corner, and it goes all the way over to pretty far right. Now, once I have all of these on the same page, I can go over here to File and come down and say Create Photo Merge. And it will show you the pictures that I have here, and I could browse and get some more and put them in, and it would look better in the long run. But right now, if I click OK, this program is going to wander through those pictures and stitch them together in a big panorama. I find that fascinating, and I have found it very useful. I have made several of those pictures and used them in advertising for my vacation rental. And if you get more than 4, you can get these transition lines to disappear. So we have covered a lot about editing photos. We've covered where you can get photos from your camera, from your computer, from the internet. We've covered finding out what program does your computer use now to open photos. We have covered the programs that you can use to learn about how to edit photos and to edit photos. Some fairly simple, some not so simple. They all will take time, but they all will be quite worthwhile if you are willing to spend that time to learn.